January is National Blood Donor Month, and the New York Blood Center continues to call for more donors as the shortage of blood continues to extend. Now, the region's blood supply continues to be threatened by low donor turnout, as well as the blood drive cancellations due to surging levels of Omicron cases, as well as seasonal challenges. Here now, sharing more details is the Senior Executive Director and Donor Recruitment and Marketing at New York Blood Center. We're pleased to have Andrea H. Cefarelli. And Andrea, I know that this is a critical time for you as we are trying to navigate this, but give us the depth of how challenging it is really for your organization.
Well, we've had a chronic shortage of blood since the start of the pandemic, but the reasons have been evolving as the pandemic has been evolving. So there are several factors. First and foremost, we used to collect 75,000 blood donations from high school and college students each year. And that influx of first-time donors was really important. Early in the pandemic, it was remote learning. Then we thought we'd get back to normal. Then it was blended learning. Of those high schools and colleges have not come back. Then you have people working from home. So corporations that used to host blood drives just aren't. They don't have the workforce in the office environment. And it's much different for people to leave working from home, go find a blood drive, donate, and then come back. So the convenience factor has changed. Then you throw in, the increase in Omicron variant, and we came out of the December holidays into the first of the year, and blood drives that were confirmed, ready to go, started just canceling left and right. And donors who had made appointments were not showing up, probably because they're on quarantine or they got sick. So it's kind of a triple whammy.
Yeah. So how do you counter this, given the fact that you have these challenges all the way from education to the workplace, people just not really being out, and then again, a lot of people still skeptical, given the fact that we've got so many things going on.
Sure. Well, we try everything. We're extremely creative, innovative, and we're probably doing something new every week to week. So December, surprisingly, was the best collection month in 4 years. It just wasn't enough. So we collected in New York and New Jersey about 29,000 life-saving blood donations. So people are coming out. The problem is there's a lot of pent-up demand for the hospitals. So the hospitals need more, like 32 or 33,000. And so it's that gap between the number of life-saving blood donations that we're getting and what we actually need. So partners like you today are tremendous, getting the word out. So we've seen an increase in blood donations for about 10 days. It's whether it will be sustained. Very often after we see an increase, we then see 3 weeks of a decrease. So we just sort of pack them into a couple weeks. But our hope is it will keep the message out there and make it through the difficult winter months.
So, Andrea, if there's an organization out there, maybe an individual out there that says, listen, I understand the plight, they really are sensitive to your need, how do they go about setting up a blood drive? Is it a real complicated process?
We try and make it as simple as possible. We partner you with an account manager who helps you from the idea stage to the execution. So if you have a location, so a lot of places don't want to let outsiders in. So you start with a location, the bigger the better, because we've started to set up our blood drives with more social distancing between the chairs, between the beds, between the people. Then who are the donors in the area? We have email addresses and phone numbers for donors by geography. So you might have your own members, your own parishioners, your own employees, but we also, if you're willing to let us, will invite donors in the area. And that's what's changed in the pandemic. Giving blood used to be as easy as walking down the hallway at your place of work, or after faith-based services, you just pop into the blood drive or get out of chemistry or physics and go donate. And so having convenient places in the community for people to give blood is super important. So we help you every step of the way.
The challenge, when you have a lack of blood, for somebody who may not really understand the fullness of it, give us a little bit about how this really impacts the process going forward. When we talk about critical emergencies, we here in the Bronx, we just recently had, a gas explosion, and the Tremont fire. Talk about the work and where this blood actually goes to, and how this is really impactful in the lives of so many people.
Yeah, so first, the Bronx fire that killed so many. In that particular instance, we weren't asked for blood for those patients because the majority of those injuries were lung injuries. But burn victims in particular can use a significant amount of blood and plasma over the course of their healing. And red cells and platelets can go to cancer and leukemia patients. They can be for routine or trauma, routine surgeries or traumas. And so having an ample blood supply before an emergency or before a trauma is what's needed. So it needs to be at the hospital, ready for any emergency or surgery, versus calling the blood center where you have a little bit of delay where someone comes in. You don't ever want to have a delay. You want the blood donated, tested, and at the hospital ready for patients.
What would you tell people who have, needle hesitation? We know a lot that's been said about the vaccine, and some people have had this aversion to getting the vaccine simply because they're just, dealing with the process of needles. And other people have other thoughts as well. But I've heard people say, just the whole needle process is not something I want to experience. But we know when it comes to blood donation, that's exactly what happens. But give a little walkthrough as to what that process is like when a person is actually donating blood, so that maybe we can debunk some of the myths and the theories here.
Well, I would say it two ways. To my young children that both have tattoos, and to my nieces and nephew that think nothing of piercing their belly button and their ears 6 times. So to anyone that has a piercing or a tattoo, I say it's no different. And we do that because, it's fun or we want to look good, and we endure that. I think tattoos are probably pretty painful, but we do that because it's part of our culture. So the first, I would say, no worse and way easier than a tattoo or a piercing. If I can't claim you have a tattoo or a piercing, then I would say it's a tiny bit of discomfort to save the lives of someone that you will never meet. I've stood with first-time donors over my years with the blood center, and 99% of them go, wow, that was way easier than I thought. Small bit of discomfort when the needle goes in, then you don't feel it. 11 minutes later, you've donated something that cannot be manufactured, that's going to go to someone special that doesn't really ever get to say thank you. So it's a pretty amazing gift.
Before we leave, I would love for you to just share a little bit about the success stories of how donations have actually impacted lives.
So we have blood recipients all over our website, from rare blood users. So there are people, if you have chronic sickle cell or thalassemia, you don't just need one blood donation, you need donations throughout your whole life. And you can start needing, say I'm O positive and I need O positive blood. The more you get blood over your lifetime, you might need very specific blood. And we have a couple blood recipients on our website that are kept alive by donors with rare antigens and specialty blood. And those are just amazing stories. We also had an individual who was actually a board member, and he was dropping his kids off for school, went around to the back of the car to get their knapsacks, and a cab came from behind and hit him in his leg. So he's a double amputee. He was amazing. We introduced him to his actual blood donors a couple years ago, and his story is also on the website. So these are those rare stories where the blood recipient and the blood donor actually get to connect, and it's a really special thing.
Yeah, amazing story and much needed, especially during a time like this. And I know that you're in a shortage, but we know that this is the month that we're actually trying to create some awareness. So, Andrew, I want to thank you for being with us, and hopefully we'll be able to see more people donate blood throughout the course of this month and hitherto, so that maybe we can be able to be in a better place and impact more lives. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much for covering it. You guys are lifesavers as well for getting the message out.
Well, thank you. We want people to know, listen, if you want more information, please go ahead and visit their website at nybc.org. And then also follow them on Facebook and Instagram, I should say, at New York Blood Center. Well, we don't want you to go anywhere. We got more show coming up. So stay with us. Open continues coming up in a few.